Hi everyone, my name is Kalina. Welcome to Eye of the East Coast. Tonight we have Mike Thompson, also known as Mystic Mike. Welcome to the show, Mike.
Why, thank you, Kalina.
How's your mother doing?
Wonderful.
Good.
Doing really well.
Good. Just for our listeners to know, my sisters and I, we coordinate a psychic fair out in Lower Sackville in Nova Scotia. And Mike and his mother every year come out and do readings for us, and his mother is a sweetheart. Please say hi to her for us.
Oh, I sure will.
So, for our listeners, can you explain a little bit about your work and how you started your journey?
Well, my journey is a little bit different than most people's because a lot of what I do, I started at a very, very early age. It wasn't until I was 17 that people started asking me to do readings for them. So I basically started about when I was age 8. But it wasn't until I turned 17 that people actually started coming up to me and asking me if I would actually do readings for them. So I would actually say I was 8, but in all actuality, doing it for other people would have to be age 17.
Now, how was this through family or friends?
It was always through family and friends in the early stages. Something that I've always done, something that I've been always able to do. It's something that I always felt natural to do for me. So it was always something very exciting for me. But it was nice when I turned 17, everybody really wanted more of me and wanted me to go different places and do different things and do different readings for people. So it kind of evolved from there.
Nice. Now, did you ever do any like psychic investigations? Like, did anyone feel that there might have been like, I don't know, like an angel or a spirit in the house, and you went and checked it out for them?
Oh, absolutely. Mm-hmm. I actually did a house cleansing not that long ago where a lady was being haunted by a spirit in her house, and I offered to come over, and I said, I won't charge you any monies for this. What I'll actually do is I'll just come over to see how we make out. And I actually helped her clean her house and get rid of the spirit that was haunting her son because it was in her son's room, and he never slept better. So it was actually kind of a good thing.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
For our listeners, how can they, like if they had a problem similar to that, how can they clear their house? Like, what would you suggest to them?
A natural house clearing?
Yeah.
Very simple. It's the simplest thing you could ever do. All you need to do is you need to go get a smudge wand. And what a smudge wand is, it's all sage, which is bundled together. Mm-hmm. I would recommend getting a bowl. And then what you're going to do is you're going to light this smudge wand until it starts to smoke really, really well. And then all you have to do is walk through your house, giving pure intentions within the house, cleansing the house, going around the windows, around the doors. And I always like to do it in a different way because I always tell people once you finish your house cleansing, go ahead and open all the windows. And then maybe go outside for a little while and come back in, and the house feels so different.
Sorry, Mike, I was going to pause that for one. Sorry about that. I'm babysitting my parents' dog. And
oh, that's okay.
So, sorry, continue.
I kind of forget where we were.
Is it cleaning?
Oh, with the house smudging, yes. So when you're walking around, it's like having the purest of intentions when you're doing what you're doing, because what you're thinking of is, and a lot of times the reason why built-up energy happens in a house is because a lot of time there's no place for it to go, so it lays stagnant within the home, and that's the reason why a lot of people oftentimes have bad dreams, or they may find themselves having restless sleeps. So if you were to cleanse the home and then open up all the windows for both, one factor of that, and coming back into the house, everything feels different and feels fresh, it feels new, and it's much, much better energy at that point in time.
Well, now, if someone is, like, if there's a spirit in the house, and if they feel like the spirit is trying to contact them, and they feel like it's safe and all that, what would you recommend to the listeners?
I think what I would recommend if they're trying to be contacted by spirit, the first thing is not to be afraid of it, because spirit cannot hurt us. Spirit is always a very light energy, and spirits are not meant to hurt us. Depending on what you've seen on TV, I know, but you have to understand a lot of that is Hollywood. So when you see those types of movies on TV and you watch those types of stories, a lot of times there's a lot of Hollywood that's bad into that. Most times, if a spirit wants to connect you, basically there's a specific message they have for you. And they'll do something like affect maybe the light in your room. Or maybe they'll leave you little dimes around to let you know that they're around them. So not to be afraid of it, and just to really be open to the idea of the message being there. And most times when I feel there's spirit around me, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to ask a question. Can you tell me what you need me to know? And then what I do is, because they're not in the physical sense at this point, turning on the radio or TV and getting the message from there, because it'll come through that area.
Right. And do you ever give symbols or signs to spirit or to the guardians?
Absolutely. I actually let them talk through me.
Okay.
So a lot of times, if I'm doing a reading for somebody and I feel that there's spirit with me, like I'll usually get a sign that there is spirit with me, and it'll either give me a male presence or a female presence, and I usually will ask, I feel a very strong dominant woman over here. Can you tell me more about her? And then it's like, can you tell me who this is? And I'll describe them in detail what I'm feeling around that type of an energy. And then basically they tell me, oh, that's my whoever it is. And I say, well, the message is, you need to start taking better care of yourself. So whatever the case may be at that point in time.
For the listeners, if they're trying to develop their own mediumship abilities or psychic abilities, where would you tell them to start?
Well, first and foremost, I think that they need to start by trusting their own instincts of what they're getting. A lot of times, for a lot of psychics out there, the issues that they're having is, especially, and of course I think you can understand this as well, coming from the point of view of being a reader, is many times when you're doing a reading for someone, we're just the messengers. And many times what happens to us is we get the message, we deliver the message, and sometimes it's not being perceived in a positive way because maybe that's not what they're wanting to hear at that point in time. But to trust the messages and just deliver it as you get it. And not to be afraid of maybe it not being the right message, because Spirit only gives you what's necessary.
That's good advice. That's really good advice. Is there anything you would like to share with the listeners, what you wish you knew when you started your journey?
I think just to trust myself. Early on, I think a lot of it was when I was challenged by somebody not really believing what I was doing or saying. A lot of it was I would kind of back up and say, well, maybe I'm wrong. I think a lot of what you have to do, especially getting into our types of work, because it's a much needed type of work, is that you have to trust what you know and what you're getting.
And how, for our listeners, how can they build upon their trust? Because that's one of, like with my students and my seekers, that's a big question I get from them. What would you recommend to them to help them gain confidence in trusting their own intuition?
I think you need to do a little disclaimer in the early stages. As they're early starting out doing their readings for different people, maybe having a little disclaimer before you start. Now, I'm going to give you messages that are coming through me, and I don't control it, so just understand whatever comes out, it has to come out in a specific way. And I trust what my spirits are telling me. Then take with it what you will and leave the rest.
That's good advice. That's really good advice. So I want to talk about your tools, because you use tools for your readings.
Absolutely.
Can you share to the listeners what you use?
I actually use, it's in a wonderful case here. I don't know if you can see that through Skype, but I actually have my box here, and it has my tarot cards in it, which are my Witch's Tarot. Witch's Tarot is a very old deck. It was given to me many, many, many moons ago, and it's a deck that I use today because I really enjoy it, because I really resonate with it, so that's been really beneficial for me. I also use my trusty crystal ball over here as well, and I have many crystal balls in my home, so I do use these, and I do a lot of scrying with that. I am able to do palmistry as well, and I also do tea leaves. Nice. But not only that, I'm also dabbling a little bit in doing a lot of astrology, and I am also a certified hypnotherapist, and I'm trained and certified by Sylvia Bowne.
I did not know that. That's very cool. Okay, good to know. I did not know that.
So 5 years ago, I actually flew to California because I knew that she was retiring. And as you know, Sylvia Bowne actually passed last October on us, unfortunately, because she had some major health problems. And one of the things, it was almost like an urgency for me. So in 2009, I cleared out my bank account, flew to California, studied with her, and it was the most uplifting experience I've ever experienced. It was amazing.
Oh, that's wonderful. Can you explain to listeners some of the benefits of hypnotherapy?
Hypnotherapy is really neat. It can be utilized for just about anything you have ailing you. What I use it for a lot is people coming to me, whereas they have specific phobias that they're holding on to, that want to release. Maybe they want to stop smoking. Maybe they want to stop eating too much and they want to lose some weight. But a lot of what I deal with is removing the blockages in regards to relationships, because a lot of the things that happen in our lives is we create little blockages within us. And hypnosis can help me help you release those blockages so you can be more open to love or whatever ails you.
Interesting. Now, one question I've had before is, because we have a lot of listeners around the world, do they have to be in the room with you, or can they call in Skype, or how would that work?
No. I'm very technologically advanced at this point in time. I can do it via Skype.
Okay.
I can do it sometimes. I can do it through email, but the thing about it with email is I tend to ramble a little bit with the email because as the messages are coming through, sometimes I get a really long message. So you may be actually getting a book back in return once you ask me to do a reading for you by email. But I like to do it via Skype. That's a lot of fun for me to do. I've actually upgraded recently because I've always done audio tapes. So I've always done like a cassette tape type of thing. Cassette tapes are extremely hard to get a hold of now. So I've actually upgraded to a little player. And I can actually now this is the newest thing, which I'm really excited about, I can send you your reading right through email.
Really?
So once we finish, so we're doing it on the phone, I'm going to record it on my side, and you're going to keep notes on your side, or we can do it on Skype, whatever the case is, and then I could send it to you directly by email, which is kind of fun.
That's awesome. That's neat. It's neat technology. It's great when it works. It's awesome when it works. Now, and for the hypnotherapy, now they would have to be in the room with you, right?
Yes, they would. Yeah. It's very clinical what I do because it's not like you see on TV where they, you put somebody in a trance and they do funny things. That's not what it is at all. Right. I do clinical hypnosis. So basically you would come in very much like a doctor's office. We would fill out specific forms, talk about whatever the specific issue is that you're really wanting help with at that particular time. And basically you sit in the wonderful shades that I have here. I play you some nice music. And then I talk you down to a nice relaxed state, which is the one just before sleep. And then we go on a little journey within you, help you release whatever it is, bring you back out, and you feel better about it.
Now, do you have any tapes for the listeners? Like, do you do any, this just came in my head, so I'm asking, do you have any meditation tapes for the listeners?
I do.
You do?
I actually do have meditation.
I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah. I actually started doing some of these last year. A lot of people were asking me because they really enjoyed the way that I was presenting things that I was presenting. And they were wondering if I actually do meditation CDs. And I actually did have some meditation CDs, and I do have some of those. So the next time I see you, I'll give you one.
Oh, you're so sweet. Thank you. No, because I always find you really, there's a serenity to you, Mike, and it's just, I think it's wonderful. I think it's wonderful, the work that you do. That's good to know. I didn't know about the CDs, because there's, a lot of our students will ask for good meditation. Now, do you do past life regressions, too?
I do.
Awesome.
I do a lot of past life regressions. And as we were doing our training in California, one of the things that we have to do is we have to actually have it done on ourselves as well.
Really?
And it was interesting because we all had to come up with some sort of a phobia that we had. And for me, it was really difficult because I'm thinking, I think I'm okay, because I couldn't really come up with anything that was really, really gnawing at me at that point in time. But what was interesting about this was that night, every one of us, because we were just getting to know each other, we all went out for a drink one night. And the first night when we did this, one of the girls asked me a question that was quite interesting because I never realized and resonated with it at that point in time, that when I was drinking my drink and there was a bunch of women around me, it was no problem. I would put it down, even go to the bathroom, leave it unattended, and come back and still drink it. But if a man came near, I wouldn't drink the drink.
Really?
And I would actually put my hand over it, but if somebody came near it, or if I left it, unsupervised, I wouldn't go anywhere near it. And one of the girls looked at me and she said, "Why do you do that?" And of course, I didn't know what she was talking about. I said, "I don't know what you're talking about." And she said, "Every time a woman's around, you'll leave your drink alone. But when a man comes around, you'll hover over it." And I said, "I don't know." So the next day we did past life regression. So what do you think I found out about myself through the past life regression?
Was it a poison?
I was poisoned into former lives.
Wow.
And it was always because I was a man of power, and I was given a little concoction that was supposed to make me feel better, and I dropped to my death each time. Isn't that interesting? And what was neat about this was the next, after I had this done, I went back to the hotel that night after finishing, took a shower really quickly, and I was the last one coming for supper that night. And the waiter was very anxious to get our orders because it was getting a little bit later. And I ordered a really nice frosty glass of water. And he stood in front of me because he wanted my order, and every eye went to me because I drank without hesitation.
Oh, that's neat. That's really neat. Oh, that's cool.
So that's fun.
No, that, and what, like, you just shared your experience with past life regression to release fears. Is there anything else apart from the fears that past life regressions can help listeners or the seekers?
Absolutely. There could be somebody that's actually, been carrying a lot of excess weight over the last number of years, and they never seem to be able to release this. So what I do is I kind of take them through this life as then like holding them up in regards to losing this, whatever is holding on to them in regards to the losing of the weight. And if it's still nothing within this lifetime, then I tell them to go back as far as they can and tell me what it is they're experiencing that's keeping that on them and then I help them release it at that point. So it's really unique. It's really unique too because sometimes people can actually turn, if it's a female, can turn into a male, and they can start talking to you because they're free to talk openly through a past life regression.
Mm-hmm.
And it can be kind of scary sometimes when you get a very petite woman who starts talking like a very deep, gruff male.
Really?
So that's always been interesting too. So it's neat to see these things, and everyone is very different. So it's kind of neat how things unfold within all of this because it's very healing for them, very soothing, and they're always finding that it's very therapeutic as well. And many people come back many times just to see how many lives they've actually had.
That's neat. Now, what for the seekers, is there a way that, or has it happened where they've had a past life regression where they awakened a wisdom they didn't know they had? Like, for example, let's say if they were like a high priestess in a past life and they wanted to connect more with their intuition. Has anything like that happened before?
Yes,
Really?
I've had that happen quite often actually, where somebody always had like an affliction to religion. And so what I've done is I've taken them back. And what I have to do first is I have to take you back through this lifetime first. Because if there's any types of blockages, issues, problems in this lifetime that are holding you back in any way, you can't actually go further back to see what actually is there. So we have to take care of the present first before going back.
Right.
And then as soon as we get you to go back, what has happened was there was a gentleman that actually came to see me, and he was having trouble with religion. It wasn't that he didn't believe. He had a high spiritual need, but he really had an issue with religion and crosses and churches and affiliations with churches and would never go near them. And he really was bothered by this because his family really encouraged him or really wanted him to go to church. And because of this factor, I took him back, and I took him back as far as I could. And then I found, interestingly enough, that he was ostracized because he was a priest who had ideals, but at that point in time were not accepted.
Oh.
So because of that factor, he suppressed all of this, and it made him feel shunned in the church that he was in, and he never went back to church again. So I helped him release this. And what was most interesting about the whole thing was he came to see me a year later, and he said he's actively a member of the church since.
Oh, and
So
that's awesome.
it's very validating because a lot of times people will come back to me. I mean, I had a gentleman one time that was having a major crisis within his life and was having difficulty losing weight. And I hadn't seen him for a year, and he came back and made an appointment, but not to have hypnosis, but he just wanted to see me. And he said he had something to show me. So, okay, I wasn't quite sure because most people don't come back and show me anything. So I was like, okay. So he made the appointment, came in, and it was a nice, warm day. And I was quite not understanding why he had this big, heavy jacket on, which didn't make a lot of sense to me. So as he sat down, he said, I have a surprise for you. And actually, he took his jacket off. And then once he took his jacket off, basically he showed me, he said that he had lost 100 pounds, and it was all because of the help that I gave him.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Very validating.
That's wonderful. Oh, that's really nice. Now, I want to ask, and I don't know if, just tell me if this has happened or not, but have you ever done any past life regression or hypnotherapy on someone who might have had experience with UFO or star nations?
Interestingly enough, I have, and basically somebody took me back to it was into a different dimension is what it was, and they were living in a different plane where basically they could actually float wherever they wanted to walk to. So I thought this was quite interesting to hear because it was really the first time I had ever experienced somebody that was actually able to not only travel back, but to travel back to a time where they were actually living on a different planet. And interestingly enough, after that point, I never really thought much about it until such times as that happened at that particular time, that not only can we have past lives, but it doesn't necessarily mean we've had to have a past life on Earth either.
That's true. That's really true, actually.
Yeah.
And has there ever, for the listeners, or sorry, I'm going to rewind, sorry, I lost my head there. For the listeners, if they are, where you're talking about the fears and everything, I want to go back to your psychic abilities, your psychic sight. Is there anything that you would recommend as a psychic exercise or psychic awareness to help them heal that fear, apart from the hypnotherapy?
Absolutely. I do a lot of meditation, so I really recommend that you want to meditate maybe first and foremost prior to doing sessions. So either you do your meditation in the night or you do it during the day, whichever the case is. And then whatever messages that you're getting, understanding that let it flow through you and not try to understand why it's there. But after you're finished with the reading of what you're getting in at that point in time, you have to do some sort of release. And the release could either be some sort of a cleansing, maybe spraying lavender scent in the air, but just something that's going to really cleanse the air to take that away from you so you're not being affected by it. Many a times, if you don't do protection for yourself after a reading, and you make it a negative one because it's really something that could happen periodically, as you could get something that could hold a lot of negativity with them, they tend to leave that negative residue behind. So it's very important, number one, that if you do deal with something that's extremely negative, that you cleanse the room, especially. So you're going to do either some sort of a spritzer around the room, open the window, and then even going to take a shower to remove those excess amounts of energies. But always trust with what you're getting, because Spirit only gives you what you need.
That's a really good tip, because we forget to do that a lot, to clear the energy afterwards. Like, I know I forget that. We have the tinctures that we use. But do you use sound too to clear the energy?
Actually, what I do is I make up a little mister. I actually have lavender oil, and I mix it up in a little spray bottle with a little bit of water. And then what I do after each session that I have, I actually go through the entire room and I spray the lavender oil around.
Oh, nice.
And it basically cleanses the air. I leave the room afterwards and shut off light and everything, and just give it about 5 minutes to calm the energies, and then coming back in for another session after that. And it really works well for me. People kind of take very well to the lavender oil as well, because when they come into the room, they find it extremely calming. So it's kind of soothing to them when they come in, and they're not feeling anxiety. So that's what we're really trying to avoid, is to get anxiety. There were a few times, and the reason why I want to mention the cleansings, which are very important after a reading, I have done them before where I didn't do a cleansing afterwards because maybe I was a little bit tired out after the reading was over, and that night I didn't sleep very well, and it was almost like I didn't feel very well, and you tossed and you turned, and it's like you felt that there was just something that wasn't right, and that's because you're still carrying that type of an energy. It's really important to do protection. Now, protection is really simple to do as well. You can actually, first thing in the morning, sit on the edge of your bed, turn your light on, look at the light for a moment, close your eyes, feel the light engulfing your body, protecting it and guiding it, doing it again at lunchtime, and then again maybe after supper, and it's going to protect you and guide you throughout the entire day. And it helps a great deal.
That's a good one. I didn't know that one. Have you ever been to Oliver Farms in Tittamookwish?
I have.
Isn't it beautiful? That just came to my head too. So I'm just trusting it. Yeah, because when you're speaking about the lavender and everything, now do you grow your own lavender and make any sprays with that?
I haven't, but usually what I use is the essential oils, and then the essential oils you just put, and I can tell you exactly how to do it. It's the simplest thing, because it doesn't have to be anything that's too complicated to put together. Usually I get a little spray bottle, and mine are glass, because I resonate better with the glass bottles because they seem to work better for me, and I pour it about, I would say 3/4 of the way full, and then put about 10 drops of the lavender essential oil in it, shake it up, and then spray it around the room, and it's a wonderful essence. It truly is.
Is there any significance to the number 10, or that's just what you like?
No, it's the number 13 that I like.
Oh, 13. Okay. Nice.
Yeah, it's always going to be the number 13.
13.
Number 13, and just to tell you a little bit about that, the number 13 has followed me my entire life.
Really?
I lived in the Bahamas at one point in time, and my room number was number 13. Everything that I've ever done, there was always a 13 attached to it in some way. So the number 13 is very signified for me. So even my email is Mystic Mike 13. So I use it, and I think it's really important that if you do get a number that really resonates with you, or it seems to come back to you on a regular basis, utilize that, because there's a meaning behind it. And it's usually a message from an angel letting you know that that angel surrounds you at that point.
That's a really good tip for the listeners. I know it's going crazy fast. So for our listeners, how can they find you?
How can they find me? I actually have a website, which is mystic-mike.com. You can meet me there. I do have a Facebook page that you can actually join, which is called Mystic Mike's Fan Club. And you can always call me at my home at 902-485-1327 to set up an appointment with me if you wish. Like I said, I'm getting really into technology now, so I can do it via Skype. I can do FaceTime. And like I said, anytime that I get an opportunity to do readings for people, I really try to make an opportunity to do that. And I know right now my schedule is really crazy because I'm really booked up, but there's always availability for somebody in need.
Nice. And for our listeners too, Mystic Mike's Facebook page, his fan page, is really good because he puts up little tips and he gives you a heads up what's going on with astrology and stuff like that. It's wonderful. And also too, for our listeners, where you're talking about house cleaning or clearing, is there anything, or if they need to get a hold of you for that, is there separate or the same way?
No, same way.
Okay.
You can also email me at any point in time at mysticmike13@hotmail.com. And anytime, even if there's a question about something in regards to, like, say, cleansing a house, different rituals I do before a reading and stuff like that, feel free to go ahead and just give me a call or send me an email, because I'm very free about stuff like that. And one of the things I'm actually looking towards doing is doing some YouTube videos indicating that these are the types of rituals that should be done prior to, especially a reading or house cleansing, so that people get that it doesn't have to be complicated. See, a lot of people think a lot of the stuff that we do needs to be very complicated. It needs to be the most natural thing, so keep it as simple as possible.
That's really good. I'm excited for your YouTube videos. I didn't know that. That's gonna be really
There's
great.
lots of new things up and coming for me right now, so I'm really starting to branch out a little bit more and do a lot more of this kind of stuff as well.
Oh, I'm really excited for you. That's awesome. That's really good. It was really nice having you on, Mike. Really,
thanks
really.
for having
No, yeah, I think you and your mom are sweethearts, and I think I'm really glad that you came on. And I just want to thank you for coming on. Is there anything else that you want to say to the listeners before we go?
Just enjoy what you do, trust in the messages, and remember, I give this to everybody. Whenever getting a message from Spirit, take what you need, leave the rest, and trust in knowing that it's meant for you.
Oh, that's really good. No, thank you so much for coming on, Mike.
Thank you so much.
Okay, now we're going to do the readings for the week of July 27th to August 2nd, 2014. We're going to start with Aries. Okay, Aries, what they're focusing on for you this week is there's a lot of decisions coming your way, and what they're focusing on for you right now is put yourself first, put what you need first. There's also too an energy here where there may be an opportunity coming your way, but it's abroad, it's not near. Taurus, they're focusing on romance. There's a lot of focus on understanding what you need in a partnership. They're also asking you to focus on cleaning the house a bit more to help release some energy. Gemini, they're focusing on independence. The Guardians are asking you to focus on your strength and your wisdom. There's also too a lot of energy here about reading more than normal. Cancer, they're focusing on they're letting you know that the energy is smoothing out, because they're making me feel last week or the last wee bit has been a little bit more, not in a negative way, but just sort of intense. Like you may feel emotions are a bit more stronger or the energy's up and down. That energy's clearing, so that's positive. And there may be plans of a trip. Okay, Leos, they're making me feel this week is all about removing energy that should not be there. They're making me feel that you may have heard news that was disappointing or frustrating. They're making me feel that this is going to be a blessing in disguise. It doesn't feel like it right now, but they're just making me feel it will work out later. But this moment, they're saying give yourself time to heal, and it will make sense later. Virgos, they're focusing on she's saying to focus on your determination and focus on your strength. They're also saying, too, that you're going to remove a block or barrier that should not have been there. And also, too, they're showing an energy where career is going to be a little bit more stronger than before. Libras, they're focusing on spirit world. They're saying, making me feel that you may have a very positive dream from a loved one or friend in spirit that will come to you. They're also showing a lot of psychic work and art, more than normal. They're also showing an energy here where they want you to focus, she's saying they want you to focus a wee bit on music, because the guardians and the spirits are going to use music to speak to you. Scorpios, they're making me feel, you may find that the energy is a little loud this week, because they're showing, now I don't want to say anxiety, but just a lot of energy coming around. What they're making me feel is if you feel that you need time to go clear your head, that's okay. There's a lot of decisions coming your way, and what they're focusing on you is it's okay to put what you need first, but they're also saying too that they're making me feel you need to recharge, like maybe acupuncture or something like that. Sagittarius, they're focusing on writing. Writing's going to be a wee bit more important than normal, and they're showing them writing not just as a creative outlet, but also too as a way to vent. So if your mind doesn't clear, write out your frustrations or your thoughts. Capricorn, they're making me feel that, and I don't think it's just this week, I think it's going to be for a little bit. There's something that, the Guardians use this word a lot, graduation. They're making me feel that you're going through a graduation where you're completing a major cycle, and what they're making me feel right now is the graduation you're going through is going to help you get into a new chapter that's much more of who you are. Aquarius, this month they're making me feel, she's saying that it's okay to ask for help. Because I know Aquarius, sometimes you guys are really independent, which is fine, but it's okay to ask for help. They're also saying, too, that it may be a good idea to do a wee bit more meditation. And also, too, they're asking to call an old friend, a friend that you haven't seen for in a wee bit. Pisces, this is a very strong week for you, or very powerful, because what they're making me feel is there's a lot of energy coming your way where something that would have caused you stress before will no longer cause you stress. They're also asking you to focus a little bit more on, she's saying farmer's market or local business, because there's something that you're going to be connecting with those that can help you open the next chapter. Okay, so that was the show, but before we go, I just want to give some information out. So I Have the East Coast is aired on Each Radio. That's www